welcome to CIU News. I'm Khushbu Soni, your host for the broadcast and a contributing editor at CIU News. This is a recorded session and will be available on our website, which is ciunews.co.in, and our CIU News LinkedIn handle. This is an exclusive fireside chat powered by Avaya on transformation through customer experience. Businesses are built by the experiences they provide, and every day millions of those experiences are powered by Avaya. Avaya is shaping what's next for the future of work with innovation and partnership that deliver game-changing business benefits. Let me dive in introducing my guest for today. He's Mr. Vinod Krishnan, the Chief Information Officer at Indus Towers Limited. Vinod is a business leader with rich 26 years of experience, worked in 3 different countries. In his current assignment at Indus Towers, Vinod has successfully revamped their entire IT strategy towards flexibility and responsiveness. Vinod has delivered significant business benefits and results while creating and executing digital transformation strategy for Indus Towers. He's worked in several domains, including FMCG, process manufacturing, operational leasing, asset management, pharmaceutical, retail, CPG, and telecom now. Welcome, Vinod.
Thank you so much, Kush.
I'm also accompanied by Saurabh Lakhanpal. He is the solution expertise at Avaya. Saurabh is an avid CX advocate and has about 12 years of experience in providing contact center and workforce optimization solutions. He's worked in his roles like pre-sales, solution consulting, and sales specialist across leading global organizations. Saurabh has deep understanding of Avaya's contact center and workforce engagement solution and understands how these solutions are utilized for enrichment of customer experience. Welcome, Saurabh.
Thanks, Khushbu, and welcome, Mr. Krishnan.
Thank you, Saurabh.
All right. So to start with, the customer experience in today's world, if we talk about, we also call it as CX, and it is about your customers' holistic perception of their experience with your business or brand, and it's the result of every interaction a customer has with your business. From navigating the website to talking to customer service and then receiving the product or service they bought from you. Now, everything you do impacts your customer's perception and their decision to keep coming back. So a great customer experience, I think, is the key to success, and delivering a great customer experience is usually important for any business. It's the better experience customers have, the more repeat customers and positive reviews you'll receive. And this is while simultaneously reducing the friction of customer complaints and concerns. With that, let me ask Mr. Krishnan, so how are you managing your customer experience? And since you're taking care of digitization as well, what all digital channels are you leveraging to deliver the customer experience?
Right. Thank you so much for that question, Saurabh. I think, as Kushbu mentioned in my introduction, I've been part of a number of domains, and, including retail, for instance, where, in the B2C world, as I'm sure you will relate to, the concept of customer experience is somewhat different than, in the B2B space, which is where Indus Towers predominantly operates as a service provider to the large telecom opcos. But I think, at a granular level, the whole concept of customer experience is about the various moments of truth. And, the dimensional difference between B2C moments of truth and B2B moments of truth are not different. So, for instance, we work with Airtel, which is one of our largest customers, but we work with Airtel across, the 175,000 tower locations where we are across the 23 circles where we're present. So our experience, our touch points with them represent actually a microcosm of interactions, each of which, leads to or contributes to the overall customer experience that, for instance, Airtel would enjoy with us. So it's a problem more of a dimension of breadth rather than of depth. So if you would look at some of my previous jobs in retail, for instance, we cared really about how deep we go into our evaluation of customer experience. Here it's about how broad, because the aggregate is really made out of the microcosm of transactions. Obviously, to a great extent in a B2B space, the strategy, the classical strategy for CX is how do you get your hooks into each other? As a customer and a partner, how deep do you integrate? How do you make it easy for your customer to order from you? How do you make it easy for the customer to know what is going on in your setup or with his or her product, in this case with the company's product that they're requesting? So, for instance, if Airtel requires a new tower from us, then there is a question that, how are you getting along with it? Is it where I want it to be? Is it coming up along the schedule that you promised me? If you have a problem, do I know? So a lot of our challenges, both from a conceptual point as well as from a systems point of view, are how do you manage the customer through that gestation period between what they ask for and when it's ready, and after, because one of our products is also maintaining these. And the way that we look at it, I think, is that there is no way that we can achieve any of what we are looking at manually. It's an empirical number, but we figured that you could never actually do any skunk works or manual work in my system for greater than 50 towers. And we have 175,000 of those. So you can imagine that with the large customers that we have, and there's not a whole lot of large opcos left in the telecom business. So obviously our customers are that much more concentrated. It's obviously humongous exercise to interact with them, in a homogeneous way, and to measure it. So a lot really depends on the design and execution of our systems, which I hope we'll talk about in one of your future questions.
So I think it'll not be wrong to say that your customers are your partners. And
Oh yes,
yeah,
and
and
partly our owners as well, thanks to the shareholding relationship. So this makes it a very interesting equation.
right. And so you mentioned about, yeah, different parameters that you look at, or different challenges that would come up during interactions, your day-to-day interactions with the businesses. But how would you measure those CX parameters with your customers, and what are the parameters which you think are important for that?
Okay. So then I think if you really look at it, there's a couple of dimensions to look at it. One is at the optimal level, the customer satisfaction, which is your qualitative representation of the interaction and the quality of that interaction and the attention that is being paid to the customer at the level at which the customer engages. So typically in one of our circles, that would mean the engagement with the circle functional leadership team and the circle business heads or the circle leadership in terms of the responsiveness and a more qualitative measure of that. But if you were to look at the quantitative measures across the organization as a whole, it would be on-time delivery, adherence to schedules, uh, quality delivery of the sites and so on. And we actually measure both of these because it's obvious that the qualitative measures are important, but the quantitative ones contribute to that qualitative view. So I think it's a combination of some fairly hard numbers and some attitudinal things. So for instance, I'll give you certain examples that you're aware that periodically we have floods and natural disasters in the country. And at that point in time, really, the nature of the collaboration between the customer teams and our teams on the ground is actually very, very close. In a sense that, if we're not there and they're not there, then there's no communication to be had. And with the dependency on mobile where it's at, it calls for a very different paradigm of working. It doesn't mean that they don't hold each other accountable, but obviously that makes a big qualitative difference to the relationship at that point in time. So I think we use both techniques. We use a more objective measurement, and there is a partner governance that is robust that exists between our customers and ourselves. Equally, there are qualitative measures that we poll on an annual basis and work with.
All right. And with the current growth in technology, how do you see Indus Tower, under that technology curve? Are you on cloud already, or planning to move to cloud, or what are the parameters or the technologies that you are looking towards it?
So we're aggressively multi-cloud, but we also have a fairly large in-house footprint. The reason we're multi-cloud is broadly because you can't afford not to be. I think the gamut of solutions and applications we as an organization offer digitally, both to our employees, our customers, as well as we support a very large outsourced partner community, because a lot of the work that we do is done through outsourced partners. So if you really look at it, the employee set in this is actually probably the smallest set by far.
Mhm.
And we extensively work with partners as well as with our customers in the way that I described to you. And our touch points are huge. So I would say that as a landscape, we are aggressively multi-cloud, with Microsoft being one of the major partners, with O365 and Teams and SharePoint. We were cited in a recent case study by Microsoft that talked about our rate of adoption of the Microsoft platforms over the last couple of years. I think if you look at the more data-centric components like OneDrive or SharePoint, I think our rates of adoption have been huge.
Mhm.
On the other side of the spectrum, in the applications space, we do a lot of work on cloud. Our entire human capital modules work on Oracle's cloud solution. And we also do a lot with Azure in terms of our business analytics space. Because obviously beyond a point, it gets to the point where having your data locally doesn't help you.
Mm.
As if
Right.
this weren't enough, we also have a fairly vibrant relationship with Google for its cloud platform, which supports some of our IoT requirements. And the way we look at it, Saurabh, is largely that it's horses for courses. So, we look at what the ecosystem of that particular cloud partner reflects. For instance, with Google, it's obviously the tool set that comes with the data when it comes to IoT. Or if you look at Microsoft, it's really the integration piece with their solution environments. So it's really horses for courses, including our very own, data center, which is nothing but a private cloud, spelled differently. And I think, so when I say we're aggressively multi-cloud, that means we don't really distinguish between these partners. We look at it at horses for courses and connect all of them at the back.
All right. And since you talk about employees as well, what are the ways and means that you took during the pandemic,
Hmm.
to improve that employee experience? Because if you look at employee experience, is if it is good, it will lead to the good customer experience as well. A happy employee will serve the customers better. So what were the
Absolutely.
measures that you took?
Absolutely. And, to some sense, what we did then is old hat, I think, Saurabh. I mean, it's a bit of an anticlimax, and I sometimes wonder if I should share it, but our level of preparedness was high before we started, in
Mm.
the sense that as one of the early and aggressive adopters of the Microsoft cloud collaboration platforms, we had a Teams infrastructure before, it made the newspapers or it made the blogs. We were there. Of course, what really happened is that the adoption of these things took off like nobody's business once the pandemic hit. And it's not for nothing that COVID is described as one of the largest agents of digital transformation. But the good news for us particularly was that the tools were there. So I'd love to say that we went out in the middle of the night and procured servers and put them up and all that kind of good stuff that you read about in the papers. We didn't do any of that kind of stuff. We had it, and we were scaled for that. And so when things hit, I think the only surprise that we had was really the usage numbers, which we saw, burgeoning by the day. But we didn't have to do a whole lot in that. Now, the other thing you got to understand that Indus is largely a field business. So, we have field people and we have office people. Now, the office people had the luxury of switching off for a few days. While we realigned stuff and we did the usual stuff, we shipped out a few desktops and we bought a few dongles and that the stuff that makes the headlines. But if you look at our field guys, they were out from day one because if nothing, the day that the pandemic hit, the availability of telecom, particularly mobile, suddenly became your number one uh, reason that as an organization you were suddenly the right place to be in for a telecom infrastructure company. So we were very much business as usual. The field has been working throughout, and there are untold stories of heroic efforts that people have put in, despite access being such a challenge. But I'd say that sometimes if you're prepared and you've already set your stuff up, it kind of doesn't make good copy, but that's how it is. Thanks.
Right, and I actually started my career from the telecom field, and still I have many friends, and it would not be wrong to say that even the field staff from the telecom vendors perspective, or from your perspective, were the frontline warriors as well
Oh,
during
absolutely.
the initial days. Yep, and now, data security was a bit of a concern for many organizations, when it came on, moving the work from home. And, for you, it would be the backend staff only, which might have caused that concern. So were there any concerns on the data security piece? And uh, did you took any actions to
Oh, yes,
mitigate
yes,
that?
absolutely. Absolutely. So I think, one of the biggest challenges in working with a multi-customer, multi-partner organization is that, you have to be very careful about the possibility of data exfiltration, especially at a time when you are responding to unfamiliar conditions. The good news again, and this is probably coincidence or not, but we moved to a web proxy 2 weeks before the pandemic hit. And so again, we were kind of lucky to have been ahead of the curve and not have to learn this on the fly. What we did do, Saurabh, and sometimes I still agonize about this, is we put in a set of very restrictive conditions around the work from. We actually made it impossible for people to download data out of their email and the Microsoft environment onto their PCs, whether home PCs or personal or even our official ones, because we said now you're not in our environment anymore. And it led to some level of heartburn with people coming back and saying, hey, you're stopping me from doing, what I do. But I think, what we understood very clearly was that, typically in security, prevention is better than a cure.
Exactly.
And, we were fortunate to have absolutely top class support at all levels of management. And typically people, found a way to live with the constraints that we put. They understood the importance of these constraints, and they saw that over a period of time we were relaxing these where it was appropriate to do that, and go from a very broad brush approach to a more nuanced one in terms of roles and people. I've always challenged the view that security profiles can be broad. I think in the end of the day you need nuance in security. Unfortunately, it's not easy to achieve. It's kind of like the elusive holy grail to say, is your security profile tailored to you? But I think we've gotten a lot better. Of course, it's a journey.
Exactly. And coming back to technology piece, that's my favorite subject, right? So in a normal B2C environment, if you look at there are customer journeys which are mapped. Now there are there is AI, there is ML to aid that, right? In a B2B environment like yours at Indus Towers, are you also mapping those customer journeys, and are you taking advantage of the AI and ML at present?
I mean, the half the challenge in a B2C space is solving the mystery. Who's coming there, what is that person doing, and you really don't understand the motivation of your casual browsing customer in the B2C space as well as you could. There is a need to profile, and there's a lot more information in general in terms of the elements, and the marketer's delight is nothing more than to be able to dream up these profiles and give them attractive names. And by god, I miss that from my experience. I love that. I mean, with my background in in management and my exposure to B2C, I really miss that. Retail and FMCG and CPG, that was a big part of our life. But that doesn't mean that we don't have challenges. So yes, we know our customer. We know our customer a damn sight better than other people have the privilege of knowing their customers. But these challenges and these journeys are always in pursuit of the refinement of the experience and the elimination of error. Typically in such a large community, in such a large network, the challenge for us is to deliver standardization of experience, to deliver optimization of experience, and you can't deliver what you don't measure. So it's important for us to kind of capture as much as we can about these moments of truth. So when we have a customer coming back and saying, "Hey, something's wrong. I can't place this order." Uh, it's always reflective of a larger issue in our system or our setup, whether it is as simple as user education. I give an example. It typically happens with boundary issues. You have a tower that's 500 meters the wrong side of the border, and it is a tower in UP East. And a customer in Delhi trying to order something on the tower is not going to be able to do that. So, understanding that this is the problem and understanding that we need to do it in a better way to make it patently obvious to that person at the right point in the process is a big deal. So in all our systems that actually interact with our customers, and almost every system of ours, including our ERP, actually interacts with our customers. In all of these, it becomes imperative for us to have our mechanisms of understanding what's happening. Of course, it's not the same set of tools from a customer journey point of view. So we don't have the, you know, the federated logins and the delta information that we can get. We don't have that here. But we have a lot more pointed information. So I know, for instance, if a customer is trying to enter an order for a particular tower, which circle that customer comes from, which customer that person represents, what time he was trying to do this, and what difficulty did he face. Is there something we could have done to facilitate that experience either in real time or post hoc without him having to, actually escalate it as a complaint? I think that's the challenge really. And we keep working on it. There's a number of tools we have. Obviously, our systems themselves, we have a lot of bespoke architecture. So there's some work we can do without having to, kind of uh, kill ourselves or boil the ocean or something that we can actually do. But it's certainly not nearly as sophisticated as some of the stuff that is out there in the B2C space.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks, Mr. Krishnan. That brings us to an end. I really appreciate your time with us. Over to you, Kushbu.
Thank you so much, Saurabh. Thank you, Vinod, for sharing your great insights with us on a fireside chat. It was a pleasure to host you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So I think we can stop the recording, Namita.
Did we go over time substantially?
No,
Not really.
not really. It was pretty much.
Namita, you there?
I will just ping her once.
Right, no issues. Maybe you guys can edit it later and
Yes,
move this part. Right. So thank you, Mr. Krishnan, for joining us and giving us the insights. So just Avaya, if you know, we are a communications company as well. Yeah.
I think I certainly know, and obviously, there are things that you guys are famous for, in particularly in the customer space. So,
Right. So just wanted to explore if we can synergize on some of the solutions and bring some solutions
sure,
to.
Saurabh, see, I'll give you a point of view, which is, look, I mean, our challenge really with more or less COTS solutions in the area of where we work is really that at our scale, the costs multiply very quickly.
Mhm.
We don't operate in the niche solution space. So, I used to work with Walmart for a number of years, and we were doing SAP in the back office. I'm just giving this as an illustrative example so you understand. And one of my questions to my then CIO was, why don't we do this more aggressively? And she was like, if we roll this out to the 330 30,000 people that we employ across, the world, then we'll end up working, through to middle of November for SAP. I mean, and she was saying it tongue in cheek, but the principle is really that at scale, it becomes very hard to afford solutions that don't scale in cost. So the expectation from my management is to bend the cost curve steeply.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean that we don't work with, what one would call premium partners or partners that bring good technology and products. It just means that we're very picky about the use cases where we bring partners like yourself in.
Right.
For instance, I run a contact center for 40,000 landlords. We pay rent to 40,000. And I don't know the new number post our recent merger in November yet. I'm sorry. I keep saying 40,000 because there's a number I'm used to over the last 4 years, but that's changed since November. It's probably closer to 60 or 70,000 landlords that we pay rentals to each month. We run a tower operations center where we touch something in the region of 20,000 field personnel through UCC. The only challenge with us is really that the minute our solutions go beyond what one would call bare minimum, the numbers start adding up and not in a nice way. I mean, at the end of the day, we are a relentless cost efficiency business. So we struggle with what are those use cases. For instance, if we were to ever do a customer help desk for, let's say, one of our key applications or for one of our key uh, vertical areas, we'd probably then consider, something that is in the more elaborate or something that is more up spectrum or up market by way of a solution.
So,
But by and large, we tend to confine ourselves to as close to bare metal as we can get because the scale distance.
hmm. Right. So, you talked about the landlord's contact center and the contact center for your field staff. From the number of agent perspective, and I'll come to the cost part as well.
Hmm.
There would be some number of agents which you would have employed to, support those concerns or queries which those people have, right? Now, there are automation solutions as well, or we have the AI based bot solutions as well, not just on text but speech as well, wherein the cost is either a basic one time or a usage based cost. So depending on what kind of volume is coming in, then the cost can be derived at. But again, there are both the options available, and
So
if
certainly
we
an
go
area
into
of interest. Certainly,
yep.
a key area of interest is the one-time, what we can do by way of development of speech recognition or, automation or self-help challenges. Again, in the noisy Indian environment that we live in with, operating as a pan-India company now, we actually have, so if I look at my landlord center today, I think we serve double-digit languages.
Mhm.
So, I think there are some practical challenges, but by and large, I'd say sort of we're very open to that. In fact, something I'm relatively proud of that for a team that is relatively small, we do an inordinate number of POCs
Mhm.
annually. And the only challenge that we find typically is that a lot of solutions don't scale very well in our setup. So, with every circle, and it's interesting that now, the circles that we operate are all in the 10, 15,000 tower region, at least the larger ones of them. And, in very objective terms, many of these are bigger than some of the companies that you guys work with.
Right.
So now if you look at us being now in the 25,000 crore revenue bucket, and you divided that by the 23 circles we operate in. Now, of course, not all circles are the same. So Northeast, for instance, is a lot smaller, or Orissa, for instance, is a lot smaller than Tamil Nadu. But if you look at that, these are 10,000 crore, rather 1,000 crore plus kind of companies in their own right at each circle. Now, one is we try very hard to maintain standards, which makes it difficult for these guys to go away on their own and do something. So it's very difficult for us to do something in Delhi that we wouldn't do, let's say, in
Got
HP
you.
or
Mm.
something. So we struggle with it, but we do a bunch of POCs. And I'd certainly love to do something in the one-off space. Particularly, I've always believed as a CIO that voice is our next frontier. Uh, it's been promised for a while, but that holy grail keeps going further away the closer you go to it. But it's been a while since I, as a CIO, or my team got into this. We're doing a lot in image recognition, for instance.
Mhm.
So as I said, we've got 20,000 guys in the field. We can now tell when those guys take a photograph of a diesel generator that they just maintained. We can tell if that's a diesel generator or a wall or somebody's scooter. We can tell, and we do that at the back end. So previously, if my managers had to review 10,000 photos, now they've got it down to 100 photos that my engine says are suspicious, and therefore you better need to check it out.
Right. Mm.
We'd love to do something similar on voice. We believe voice is a much more intuitive interface, but we also understand that it is a bigger problem. It's a noisier problem to
There
solve.
are practical challenges, but if you look at technology has evolved so much, now that uh, we have, a lot of new customers as well coming in specifically on the speech automation piece,
No, no,
where
absolutely, and that's where I think a lot of our potential exists because the ability to self serve on information or today, for instance, I do a lot of confirmation work because look, we use partners. So just to give you some numbers, we have 3,500 people managing 175,000 towers,
Mm.
and out of those 3,500, a good 1,400 are field, but that means the other 2,100 sit in their offices. So you're talking about 1,400 guys against 175,000 towers. What does that mean? That from putting them up to taking the pieces away if they fall down after a hurricane is done by a partner. So, a lot of the collective energy of the company goes into managing these partners. Did he show up? Did he do it? If he did it, has whoever was the recipient of that services, he confirmed that it was done. So in that sense, we're probably the largest transaction company you've never heard of in the landscape. So the joy for us is that any digitization that we do in this chain pays off multifold for us because if it's nothing else, if it's just some guy acknowledging that hey, somebody showed up at my tower and did this change and went.
Mm.
That one change across 175,000 towers, say twice a
Is huge.
month, is
Is huge.
huge and saves us cost because otherwise we send somebody to go and figure it out.
Mm. Right.
Right. So I think if you look at all of these factors, our opportunity to innovate is huge. And I think it's worth certainly catching up on the voice space. It's been a while since I did something in that area. So obviously keen to do a POC. I
Mhm.
think give us a view on the use cases in this space, particularly the less shall I say structured ones, and that would be a nice place I think for us to start. So
Right. So let me, prepare something around the specific use cases for you on the speech automation perspective, and then I'll seek time from you and your
sure.
team so that we can present and then move forward on the,
Sure. I mean, I think, just while you're doing that, please just bear in mind that a lot of what we're looking at is the simple ability to interface back
right.
to systems. Okay. So obviously the secret sauce for us is one is how good are you at getting speech and understanding speech and converting it into meaningful input, but also how good you are at integrating at the back end into,
Hmm.
uh, databases and systems so that we can close the loop in terms of action.
Sure, sure. So let me circle back internally. I'll come back to you on for a date and time to for your time
Lovely. So just
again.
for your information, while I'm dealing with a merger and the consequent integration, the best way to get hold of me is mail.
Sure.
I read and respond, and I'm kind of careful about the slots I give out because we operate in a fairly fast-moving environment. So, as I'm sure your team knows Kushbu very well, I'm
Yes,
not easy to pin down when it comes to my availability.
absolutely.
So,
Yes.
my apologies for that. By the way, I think you have some very persistent people in your team that have managed to corral me down into actually doing this session. But that said, I think sort of the best way to get my attention is through a mail. And you can send me a few use cases. You can bet that if there's relevance, I will have the right persons on it in a flash. If not, I'll be back to you to say, well, this is probably not what I'm looking at, or this is the nuance that I'd like on it. But keen to understand the landscape, keen to understand what's changed since the last time I looked at it, which is probably back when I was in retail. So where we were trying some interesting things back then in my Walmart e-commerce days. So I briefly led the e-com ship from store at the cash and carry business in Walmart for a year, a little over a year, and I enjoyed that tremendously. But there we were doing a lot of what we wanted to do was a lot of phone commerce.
Right.
As it turns out, we were very prescient. Many of the things that we thought about are being done now, as a matter of course. But at that time, it was tough as hell to get people to fund our POCs. So it's like, who's going to call and order stuff anyway, right?
Right. That mentality, I think, has completely changed nowadays.
Oh, no, no. Let me tell you this, that it's not just the fact, the numbers. It's the people. It's the kind of people.
Right. Right.
These are people that we were classified 5 years back as technophobes are now, interacting significantly more with other people digitally. Grandparents with their grandkids across town.
And
It's
with smart speakers coming up, like Alexa and Google Home, it has increased
yeah.
multifold.
No, what's also not funny is the level of base adoption. If you really look at it, uh, there's people that you don't think will take to this technology that are taking to this technology in a big way. I mean, anybody below 20, I think you could always have taken for granted that these people understand this stuff.
Right.
But now we're getting the above 60 segment also equally, kind of
They're
keen
equally
on this.
enthusiastic about it.
And it's not something that I thought I'd see in my working lifetime. So I always joke that for CIOs, it's a double-edged sword. The extent of digitization is great, but now everybody wants, the next best thing to happen.
Exactly.
And guess what? We're still working with the same budgets. So, so it is interesting. But look forward, Saurabh. I think put together some things. I think you understand the context of a very intensive, large number of transactions thing. Therefore, it's always good for us to look at fixed costs, one-time solutions which we can amortize very rapidly. I can tell you this: if I make an investment in a package, I probably get my value out of it in months, simply because of the number of
Okay.
transactions that I have that are going on it.
Right.
Okay, so that part of our case always works well. We are a little strained for bandwidth, but for the right use case, we'll find it.
Sure. Sure. I'll come
Okay,
back to you. Yeah.
great.
Sure.
Thanks, guys,
Thank
and thanks for being accommodative for the time piece of it. I think it is these are difficult and long days. That way. Thank you.
you. No issues. No issues at all. Thank you.